So on the topic of gas absorption, if we're going to make a material balance on a single stage system, like this one, a single stage equilibrium contact, all we have to do is equate the sum of the entering streams to the sum of the leaving streams. In this case, that would require that we take the sum of LO and V2 and equate it with V1 and L1, the sum of the two, that is. So our material balance specifically will be LO plus V2 equal to L1 plus V1. And this is equal also to M, where M is used to represent the bulk phase. The phase composed of the two phases that were contacted. And it is also the phase where shall we say, the production or the appearance of the interface occurs. So in the interface, we have the real mass transfer occurring there. Now, if we have set up the total material balance equation, then we can, from that particular total material balance, we can write our component balance by simply multiplying the phases or the streams that appear by the corresponding mole fractions. By the corresponding mole fractions. So in the case of, if we're going to make a material balance on component A, that would be LOXAO V2YA2 equated to L1XA1 plus V1YA1, again also equal to MXAM. So notice that the composition, the mole fractions of the liquid phase and the bulk phase are represented all by X, whereas that for the vapor is represented by Y. So we simply copy the overall material balance and multiply the streams by the corresponding mole fractions of the particular stream. Now, if we have a two-component system, XA plus XB, that is should be equal to 1. Same thing with YA plus YB equal to 1. So the example that is written here is if you have a three-component system consisting of A, B, and C. Now, I've mentioned also that aside from our total material balance and our component balance, we can set up an alternative component balance equation wherein we're not using the whole value or the original value of the streams or phases, but rather we're only using the inner part of those phases. So if we have a liquid as a solvent, and it's consisting of water and another component present on it, then the inert part of that particular solvent will simply be water. But in the case of gas absorption class, most of the time our solvent is just pure water. So the entire amount or the entire flow rate of or molar flow rate of our solvent, which is water, will also be at the same time equal to L prime. But just in cases wherein our solvent contains another component, then the inert part will be the water. If we have a gas mixture, and most of the time our mixture is that of air with other pollutant gases, which we want to scrub off from the air, then our inert part of the mixture will be that of air, or the portion that is air is the inert part of our gas mixture. So if we are using the inert parts of our streams as indicated here, so we're not anymore actually concerned with the actual amount of the phases, because what we intend to know are just the inert parts, and they are the parts of the phases that will be constant. Even it's not dependent on the degree of recovery, because they are the inert parts. They are the ones that are not actually being reduced or shall we say increased in value. So what we multiply to the inert parts this time are not the mole fraction, but rather the mole ratio. So if you notice our denominator here, for example, in this term is 1 minus XAO, which for a two-component system is just equal to X sub BO. Same thing with this one. So if you have a two-component system, this must be referring to Y sub B2. This one is for x sub b1, and this one is for y sub b1. So what you're multiplying to the inert stream's value is the mole ratio, not the mole fraction. If you're using this component balance using inert streams. This particular equation class is very useful in most of the cases wherein the number of unknowns exceeds the number of equations that we can use. So in our case, if we're not going to utilize this one, we only have 2 working equations. And if our unknowns is already 3, then we cannot solve for whatever is required because we lack 1 more equation. But if we use this one, it doesn't really require that we know the exact number or the exact value of the 4 faces. We only need to know the inner part of the faces. Now, to start off with the application of those simple material balance equations, so we'll have this sample problem concerning the presence of sulfur dioxide in air. And this air has to be cleaned or scrubbed off by sulfur dioxide by using pure water as the solvent. So a gas mixture at 2.026 times 10 raised to 5 Pascal total pressure containing air and sulfur dioxide is contacted in a single stage equilibrium mixer with pure water at 293 Kelvin. The partial pressure of SO2 in the original gas is 1.52 times 10 raised to 4 Pascal, and the inlet gas contains 5.70 total kilogram mole, and the inlet water is 2.20 total kilogram mole. So the exit gas and liquid living are in equilibrium. So even if this particular statement class is not included in the problem, we are to assume that the living streams or the exit streams are equilibrated. Otherwise, we cannot make use of any equilibrium relationships and our problem could not be solved. So we are required in this problem to calculate the amounts and composition of the outlet phases. So meaning that would be the gas and the liquid phases leaving our single equilibrium stage unit. And we are to use the equilibrium data from figure 10.2-1. The figure 10.2-1, I will just show it again to you, is this figure that gives you the actual relationship between the mole fraction of SO2 in the liquid phase to that in the gas phase, and how Henry's law simplifies such particular relationship. This is the figure that is being referred to in the problem. Now, this is the curve that illustrates or shows the actual relationship between XA and YA, and PA. And based on this curve, we linearize such relationship. This PA can be converted to a YA by division with respect to the total pressure of the system. And that should be equal to the atmospheric pressure in most cases. And in terms of approximating it or linearizing it to make the problem simpler, we have this particular line. This line represents Henry's law. And according to that law, the partial pressure of SO2 in the gas phase is equal to the product of the Henry's law constant 29.6, which is already your Henry's law constant divided by the total pressure times the mole fraction of SO2 in the liquid phase. So since the problem is mentioning that we are to use this particular relationship or we are to use the relationship in this figure, then we ought to remember that the Henry's law constant H prime here is 29.6. We're going to use this later in the problem as we go along, as the part of the solution requires already. So we will continue with the problem. So our constant then would be 29.6, and that is our H prime. which we will need later on in the problem. So we start off, so this is our problem. This is our problem, and our solution will start off with the material balance. We will also start with the material balance even if we're going to apply previously learned principle about solving a problem, that we have to start with the equation that would lead to the unknowns. In this case, the unknowns are the amounts and composition of the outlet phases. So then it tells you that the only equations so far that you can work on are the material balance equations. You don't have any equation so far that you can use. Then you use such equation. So you write down the overall material balance if this is our schematic diagram for such a process. And we also write down the component balance based on A. Here, our A is SO2 because it's the component from the gas mixture that we want to scrub off from it. Now, I have written here the component balance. This is also a component balance equation. Just in case, if I write down the first two equations, I will have more unknowns than the two equations would permit. If these two equation is workable, then I should only have two unknowns. If I have more, then I will have to use this alternative equation number 3, which will only require the inert values of the streams, which are actually already given in the problem, and one can be solved right away, and then the mole ratios of A on each of the phases or streams. So from equation 1, if we will place the given that we have a 2.20 total kilogram mole of water, that is pure water, and in the case of the mixture of gas, that would be 5.70. Then we equate it to L1 and V1, the sum of the two, and that would be our M. The sum is 7.90. Now in here, we already have two unknowns. If we go to equation 2 and then again substitute what we have 2.2, and for the XAO, we have none because our solvent is pure water, so it's 0 in this case. And for our, wait class. And for our gas, the entering gas, our amount of SO2 is 0.070. 0.0750 rather. And then we have, again, we copy what we have here and multiply it with the corresponding mole fractions. As you could see, class, we have now 4 unknowns. The original L1 and V1, which is unknown from equation 1, we add to it the composition of the two streams in terms of A, which makes our unknowns 4. And as such, these two equations will not lead us to the answer. So we have to use the alternative equation number 3. Before we can use equation number 3, we need to determine the inert streams. That's the inert amount. In the case of L prime, which is just the water entering our system, that would be the original given amount because our XAO is 0. So that would be 2.20. In the case of V prime, that would need the original amount of 5.70 to be multiplied to 1 minus YA2. YA2 because the composition of this in terms of SO2 is YA2. So if you intend to know air, then that would be 1 minus YA2 in this case. Or that would be then YB2. Now, I have already written the answer here, but actually, your YA2 is, actually, it's given as 0.0750. Okay, so you just substitute it here, 1 minus 0.0750, and then you multiply it with V2, which is 5.7. That will give you 5.2725. Now, the problem of the L prime and the V prime in this particular equation is already addressed. The next thing is we will check whether what remains here in terms of the unknowns is workable. So XAO is already a 0, so it's no problem anymore. Our YA2 is given. what remains is the XA1 and the YA1 because we already have the L prime. There is a need for us to have a relationship between XA1 and YA1. If you look very closely to these two, they are compositions or they are concentrations of the equilibrated streams, the living streams from stage 1. And then if that is the case, we can use the equilibrium relationship that we can set up for these two streams. So let's go to the next slide to determine such relationship. So this is, by the way, how we determined our YA2. The problem gave us the partial pressure of SO2. If you're going to divide it by the total pressure of the system as it entered the single equilibrium stage unit, then it will give you a YA2 of 0.0750. So this 0.0750 was the one that was substituted here to get the V prime. That we need in equation 3, okay? But again, our problem, as I have mentioned, is actually the relationship between XA1 and YA1 because these two are the remaining unknowns in equation number 3. So you need to have a relationship for these two. So at the start of the problem, before we started with the solution, I went back to the figure that will give us the H prime for an SO2 water system. Water being the solvent and SO2 being the gas component that is to be scrubbed off from our gas. So our H prime is 29.6 atm per mole fraction for this system. We got it from the figure. And this one is divided by the total pressure of the system. The 29.6 atm per mole fraction is the Henry's law constant. If you're going to divide it by the total pressure of the system, that should give you the H prime, which gives you the relationship now of XA1 or X sub A1 to Y sub A1. We just converted, we need to convert the unit of Pascal here to atm because our Henry's law constant is in terms of atmospheric pressure. So the only remaining variables in this equation is YA1 and XA1. So if you go back to your equation 3 and substitute everything, if you keep the XA1 here for your L1, this is our L1, the 2.2, so this would be our L prime, then this would be for our YA1 supposed to be. But our YA1 now was replaced by this, YA1 being equal to 14.8036 XA1. If you have YA1 here in the numerator, then your denominator should be YB1. And YB1 would simply be 1 minus this, YA1. Okay? So if you will process this said equation, which has a single unknown, you will know a value of X using quadratic equation. The resulting equation for this is a quadratic equation, expecting that we will have two roots. So this is the first root, or this is one of the roots, and this one is the second root. Now, if you will substitute the second root to this equation, the corresponding mole fraction of A in the gas phase will exceed 1, and that's 11.2256. So I highlighted it in red because this is not acceptable. You cannot use this value of XA1 being equal to 0.7583 because it will result in a YA1 value that goes beyond 1. So you will only use one of the two values that you got from the quadratic equation coming from this one. Okay, so that value is 0.004945 for XA1. If you substitute it here, that would be your YA1. Now, knowing already this pair of values for XA1 and YA1, you can go back to your original equation. You can go back to your original equation 2. This is your original equation 2, which has XA1 and YA1 as unknowns. If you substitute the two, you still have two unknowns left, L1 and B1. And you can get a relationship from equation 1 for this L1 and B1. So you need to solve these two equations simultaneously after you have substituted XA1 and YA1 from our third equation. Okay, so if you do that, you will have this particular value for L1 and B1. So as to the complete answer for this problem, this is your L1, this is your V1, coming from equations 1 and 2 solved simultaneously. And these two just came from the subtraction of the value of XA1 and YA1 from 1, because we only have the two component system. So these two are the mole fractions of B in your two component system. In here, your B in the X is your water. And in your Y, your B is your air. Okay, because your A here for the X is your SO2. For your gas, the same thing. It's SO2. The SO2 from the gas was scrubbed off or absorbed by your liquid water solvent. So in both cases, the liquid and the gas phases, your A is SO2. So the B in these two phases, the liquid and the gas phases, refers to the inert part of these phases. The liquid phase has water and the gas phase has air. So this solves already the problem using the three equations that I have reviewed at the start of the slide. So we made use of the overall material balance, the component balance, and the component balance using the inert streams and the mole ratios of the component that we are using to balance the equation. Okay, so that's the use of the material balance equation. Now, actually, the same principle could also be applied to a multi-stage process. So it's just a series of single equilibrium stages or single equilibrium units attached to each other or adjacent to each other. So in this case, your gas would still be introduced here. You just envision this, if this is a column, to be rotated in clockwise manner. So if this is rotated in clockwise manner, this is the gas that is being introduced at the bottom of your column. And this is your solvent that is being introduced at the top of the column. So if you recall my discussion last meeting, the gas or the vapor phase is always introduced at the bottom and the liquid is introduced on top. So V1 here still is equilibrated to L1. B2 is equilibrated to L2 and so on and so forth. This B sub n is equilibrated to L sub n. It's so easy to recall which phases are equilibrated because they have the same subscripts. So the vapor phase that is equilibrated to the liquid phase should have the same subscript to that liquid phase. Okay? In terms of the application of the concept of equilibrium. If we continue, as I have said, we will use the same principle in material balance and component balance. So actually, this is not mass balance class. I've mentioned it already. It's mole balance because in gas absorption, we're using mole balances because our concentrations are in terms of mole fractions or mole ratios. So the streams that are entering our multi-stage system is LO and V sub n plus 1. This is your solvent and this is your feed, your gas mixture that is. And it should be equated to the solvent that carries with it the recovered solute in the gas, L sub n, and V sub 1 is the gas that has been freed with the solute. Okay, and this is equated also to the, just like in the single stage unit, to the bulk phase M. Your overall component balance is patterned after the total material balance equation. So the same thing, or the same way we did, how we did it in a single stage unit. Now, if it's the design of the tower, this is our tower. This was shown to you colored last meeting. So this is your gas entering the bottom, labeled in this manner. This is your solvent already carrying your solute from the gas. this is your solvent, your pure solvent or your original solvent, and this is your gas that had been scrubbed off with the solute. Okay, so this is how we represent our column. Again, as a review, we number the stages in gas absorption in Jahn-Copley's manner based on where the solvent is introduced. So in the case of gas absorption, your solvent is the liquid phase. So this is the stage 1. It's based on where the solvent is being introduced into the column. Okay, if it's stripping, it's the other way around. So our 1 is in here if it's stripping. Now, in our multi-stage system, absorption or stripping maybe, our component balance using the inert streams is still pretty much the same as the one we had in single stage unit. But look very closely that the way we label the streams now is just 1 and 2. Okay? Both of these figures, this figure here, based on the numbering that you could see, and this one are all taken from Jahn-Copley's. Okay, Jahn-Copley's uses 2 orientation. One orientation is using the LO, N+1, and N. The other one is just using 1 and 2. What is that? Actually, this one is also the orientation of McCabe. This is how McCabe represents the streams in gas absorption and stripping. This is the same representation that you will see in McCabe's book for the process of gas absorption and stripping. 1 for the streams at the bottom, 2 for the streams on top of the column. So you don't no need to think of LO, LN, B sub N+1, B sub 1. That is in the case of the original representation of Jahn-Copley's. But Jahn-Copley's made use of the representation of McCabe, and this is actually the representation also in your handbook 1 and 2, because it's easier if you're solving a problem concerning a multi-stage system. Why? Because you only need to look at 1 and 2 as subscripts here, and then you have L primes and B primes here. As you can see here, this is V2, this is X2 for this one, so its pair is this one, the Y1. So these are for the entering streams. Okay, X2, Y1, and in here you have X1, Y2. Okay, if you intend not to be confused, because it's confusing really having to think of the 2 representation of the streams, that is of Jahn-Copley's and McCabe, I suggest you get used with McCabe because that's the one that is in the handbook. However, for some, they are already used to Jahn-Copley's because the problems of Jahn-Copley's are not as complicated as McCabe. If you're a beginner and you're just trying to apply at the first in the first chance of applying the principle to a particular problem, it will actually be a bit of a challenge if you start off with McCabe. So I suggest you start with Jahn-Copley's, and if you can manage already Jahn-Copley's, then transfer to a different variety of phrasing questions and problems, and that is McCabe. And this is how he uses it. Now, this particular orientation is also very useful because in Crimsher's equation that I will be showing to you in a little while, it uses only 1 and 2. For 1 for the streams at the bottom of the tower and 2 on top. But nonetheless, this one is still the same as the one that I had discussed a while ago concerning a single stage unit. Okay? But again, if you're really comfortable with Jahn-Copley's, that you rather have the XAO, the YAN, the YAN+1, I don't mind as long as you understand what you're doing, what you will place here on the mole ratios. Now, in terms of the location of the operating lines are actually lines made by plotting the concentrations at the bottom and at the top of the column. What do you mean by that means? For example, if your process is an absorption process, you have it in letter A. Letter B here is for stripping. The operating line for a gas absorption process is situated on top of the equilibrium curve. Okay, the equilibrium curve, you know already how is it made. So you just plot X and Y, you will have the equilibrium curve. So your operating line for gas absorption should be above this curve when it's plotted. Of course, the opposite will happen if you have the operating line of a stripping problem. It should be at the bottom of the equilibrium curve or of the equilibrium line. As you could see, it has 2 points. So 2 points determine a line. So what do you need to plot these points? You just need the compositions. So these are compositions X1 and Y1. So these are the tower bottom compositions. And these are the top of the tower composition. So if you have the 2 points connected, you will have what we call as the operating line for the gas absorption process. Just in case you have plotted it already and your line happens to be now situated here or it crosses the equilibrium curve, there is something wrong with the concentrations that you have used in plotting. So you have to go over where the wrong is, find where the error is. So if it's also in stripping, just if it's in the case of stripping, then your tower, the top of the tower will be here. So your Y2, X2 will be the top of the tower and the bottom of the tower will be here. Now, actually, it's still the same. Your tower bottom is still labeled as 1. The top of the tower is still labeled as 2. But in this case, nagsuli na sila. So in here, the tower bottom is already here. Here, ari siya sa babaw. In here, the top of the tower is in here, where in here, the top of the tower is here. Okay? So it's the other way around. The other one is the reciprocal of the first. The absorption is the reciprocal of the stripping. In terms of location, they are also the inverses of each other. But the way you number your columns should not be changed. Bottom is still 1, 2 is still top. So don't forget that. They will just interchange in the manner of the way they are plotted, but the plotting of the column should never be changed. In the orientation of McCabe, in the case of numbering the streams, 1 at the bottom, 2 on top of the column. What's the importance of this? Why do I need to inform you that the operating line for gas absorption should be on top and this one should be at the bottom? It's very important for you to know that, because when you use graphical technique in answering for the number of stages for your column, absorption or stripping may be, for you to know how tall or high it is, it's important that you know where your operating line is located. That is if you're using the graphical technique. If you're not using the graphical technique, it will not have any implication, because all you have to do is just solve using an equation. Okay? In less than a minute, I will be cut. We will just use the same link. Now, in computing for the number of stages class for gas absorption, we use the Krimscher equation. And in the equation, you'll be using the X and the Y's, and you will be using the A, the gas absorption factor, which is the ratio of the slope of the operating line to the slope of the equilibrium line or curve. You will know how this is computed when I solve later a sample problem on this. If the gas absorption is equal to 1, this rather complicated formula becomes this. So it's simplified in this manner. But if it's not,